I could have given you the world.
I left this world a long time ago.
Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with another First Appearance Friday. This week we're talking about the Spectre, a patron request, I should say. All right, Spectre was created by Jerry Siegel and Bernard Bailey, and today is his first appearance, which came from 1940. He ended up being a member of the Justice Society from All-Star Comics number 3 until All-Star Comics number 23, and that's about the time he stopped appearing in more fun comics. And he wasn't seen for 20 years until he showed up again in Showcase number 60. It may warrant its own first appearance if you want to separate Golden Age from Silver Age, or even if you wanted to count separate Spectre hosts. Yes, he needs a human host to operate on Earth. Of course, the first and most famous is Jim Corrigan. Then Madame Xanadu actually forced herself as Astar's host for a while. Then, of course, Corrigan again. Then we have Hal Jordan, and then Chris Bessalen. Now, the Spectre is the wrath of God, and he is charged with finding vengeance for the murdered dead and basically punishing those who sin against God. So, without further ado, let's get this party started and dive right on into more fun comics number 52, the first appearance of the Spectre. And I'm going to put quotation marks around that. So, let's talk about the cover. It's classic just because it is the first appearance of the Spectre, but in all honesty, come on. The Spectre is hovering over a car, standing halfway. I mean, if he's on the ground, that means his calves are like 6 feet long by themselves. Then we just have the bad guys kind of reeling. It's not the most impressive of covers, is what I'm saying. The Spectre by Jerry Siegel and Bernard Bailey. Introduction. The Spectre, a supernatural being whose mission on Earth is to stamp out crime and to enforce justice with the aid of such weird powers, is becoming invisible, walking through walls, and delivering death with a glance, and apparently creating stink lines. And so we first join our hero Jim Corrigan as he's with his friend Wayne Grant, giving him the business that a socialite like Clarice Winston would want to announce an engagement to a lug like Corrigan. But before they can leave, Louis Snipe, Jim Corrigan's favorite stool pigeon, comes calling. You'd better hurry downstairs before your favorite stool pigeon pulls a fade. Something tells me we're in for a whole bunch of 1940s slang. What is it, Stoolie? If you're wasting my time on a night like this, It's something big. The Westmore warehouse is going to be robbed tonight. They're going to take a fortune in furs. I'll get something for telling you this, won't I? Yeah, the tip of my foot. Pardon me, Jim. It's bring me information or I'll kick your ass. Not bring me information and I'll kick your ass. Remember, let me know whenever you get this kind of information. So Jim jumps into his car and drives towards the warehouse, knowing that he should be driving towards Clarice's party. Jim Corrigan shows up at the Westmore warehouse where nothing's going on, so he says to himself, I wonder if Louis took a whiff of dope and started hearing things. Pre-code comics, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta love them. But he doesn't have to worry about Louis' drug use, since soon a truck drives up at the rear of the warehouse and a whole bunch of guys get out of it. Gat Benson's men, this is luck. Cautiously, Jim sneaks up on a guard, then this must be that 1940s slang where sneaking meant something different than it does now. He punched him straight in the face. Having disposed of the guard, Jim makes his way to the top of the truck. All right, you mugs, up with your hands. Of course, the bad guys don't listen. One of the crooks tries to draw a gun and the action commences. He fights all of them off with his bare hands, only angry when, trying to ruin my tuxedo, eh? I'll stand for anything but that. Meanwhile, at her party, Clarice frets. Are we saying she's worried or she's practicing her guitar? I wonder what's keeping Jim. The nerve of him. I wish you'd reconsider marrying this bore. I love Jim. Nothing can alter that. But if he doesn't show up soon, I'm going to lose my temper and practice my guitar again. Worried and with her patience exhausted, Clarice decides to telephone Wayne, the guy we saw in the first panel, and he says that Jim had left a while ago, so she calls up the police department, and they say, hey, he's at the hospital after tangling with a whole bunch of criminals. And so she goes there to meet him. But little do they know, waiting outside for them is Gat and his men. So Gat and his henchmen sees Corrigan and Clarice get into their car, and as Jim drives off in Clarice's car, he is completely unaware that they are being trailed by the gangster's auto. Aw, come on, sugar. Relax. Don't be a sorehead. I've got a right to be angry if I want to. Jim wheels the car into a deserted side road, halts. Why did you stop? Because it's high time I told you a thing or two. Why a real lady like you should be interested in a mug like me is beyond me, but one thing is certain. There's going to be one boss in our family, and that's me. And they kiss. Jim Corrigan, you're a tyrant, a bully, and a conceited fool. But I love you. Just as long as you love me. Does he have a balled-up fist? Holy Toledo, I'm going to get me too just for reading this. Sorry to break up such a touching love scene, but raise 'em and no tricks. Gat Benson. Of course a criminal would think that love at threat of violence would be romantic. Into the car, both of yous. I don't know why I started that accent, but okay. Into the car, both of you. A false move from either of you and the girl gets the first bullet. I guess it's unnecessary to remind you, Benson, that I think you're a rat. I never did like you, Gat, and right now I've an impulse to cave in your face with my fist. Talk fast, coppa. You may not have much longer to talk in this world. Later, the sedan drives in a small warehouse on the waterfront. Take the dame in the next room. Come on, you. Let me go. Jim tries to stop them from taking Clarice, but unfortunately gets knocked out after Clarice has been removed from the room. Into the barrel with him. Now for the cement. I'll get it, Gat. Cement and water are poured into the barrel, completely covering Jim. Get some more men and roll this thing into the wharf. Holy Toledo. Gat Benson may be the best mobster in all of comic book. I mean, there's no trap. There's no filling up the room with gas like in the Green Arrow first appearance. Nope. Let's knock him out, put him in a barrel, cover him with cement, and then dump him in the ocean. And that's what we see in the next page. A couple of guys throw the barrel right into the water. Gosh, what a way to die. And that's what happens to coppers who think they can outsmart Gat Benson. Down, down hurtles the barrel like a plummet until it strikes bottom and settles placidly on its side. I don't want to nitpick, but isn't plummet a verb and not a noun? And then we see Jim Corrigan. Where am I? Ahead, a patch of light. Up toward the streaming light ahead streams Jim's figure at infinite speed. Look, I respect Jerry Siegel. He's half of the team that brought us Superman, not to mention, of course, creating the Spectre, which is an incredible character. But this is absolutely the worst 3 panels of writing that I've read. Or at least 2. Ahead, a patch of light. Up towards the streaming light ahead streams Jim's figure. Not good, guys. Just not good. As he nears the light, his speed slows. What has happened to me? Until he stops completely, remaining suspended before it. Only one thing can explain this experience. I'm dead. But for some reason, I'm not passing through the gates of eternity. Why? Listen, Jim Corrigan, and you will learn. Your mission on Earth is unfinished. You shall remain earthbound, battling crime on your world with the supernatural powers until all vestiges of it are gone. But I don't want to return to Earth. I want eternal peace. But his protests are unanswered. Down streams Jim to a sharp concussion, hurtling stars, then an exploding darkness. Abruptly, I'm seated at the bottom of the river, and yet I don't drown. But at least you have a concussion, I think. That's what they were trying to convey. No? So Jim sees the barrel that he was put into. A hand protruding from the cement. Good Lord! I must be looking at my own body. Gat Benson and his men did this to me. They'll pay for it, and heavily. Say what you will, but there are some dark elements to the Spectre's first appearance, man. So Jim feels no time like the present to exact his revenge, and he hurtles up towards the water's surface. And even above the sea, as he finds out he has the ability to fly. Good grief, I had merely to mentally will this and it happened. I can scarcely believe this. But there below me is my shadow. The shadow, it's gone. But then, as Jim wills it, the shadow appears. It's back. There's no doubt about it. I can make myself invisible at will. Well, actually, you went invisible by accident. You willed yourself to be visible again. And suddenly, Jim hears a scream. It's Clarice in the hands of those deadly killers. Onto the wharf catapults Jim's streaming figure. The secret word of the day, kids, is streaming. Then he walks directly through the warehouse walls and out of view. Don't miss further adventures of this new astonishing character in the next and every issue of More Fun Comics. And there you go! The Spectre's first appearance-ish. Come on, it's Jim Corrigan's first appearance, really, if you think about it. I mean, we don't actually see the Spectre. We see him die. We see the origin. And let me tell you something. The book is actually pretty good. There's a lot of good ideas there. It's just some poor execution. But I don't know. It's kind of like 180, 181. What's the first appearance of Wolverine? I think we need to look at number 53 here. The follow-up to see the introduction of the Spectre. The Spectre. Well, here's a curiosity. Now, a lot of people only credit Jerry Siegel with the creation of the Spectre, but right here in the second appearance of the Spectre, only Bernard Bailey is credited. That's interesting. So there's a synopsis, and I'm not going to read it because basically it just tells us about the first appearance, and we just went over that. And we see the gangsters surrounding Clarice. What'll we do with the dame? Kill her. She knows too much. Don't worry, honey. It'll be over in a minute. No, don't. She fainted. Stop stalling. Go ahead and shoot. I ain't never croaked a dame. This ought to be funny. Wait, funny? I mean, I can understand fun, but funny? No. Unless, she does something funny after you shoot. Like her body kind of shakes in a certain way. But funny? That's just weird. Suddenly, the gangster stops in his tracks. Holy cat. It's... We see that the gangster sees Jim Corrigan behind his friends. Drawn by a terrible hypnotic fascination, the gangster peers deep into Jim's dark eyes and glimpses death. It's him! Come back from the dead, Jim Corrigan! Jim fades into nothingness. So the two gangsters look in the corner that Jim was standing in before he turned invisible. And when he turned back, well, I'll be, he's fainted. It's worse than that. He's dead. I don't get it. He screeches something about Corrigan being alive again and then dies. You don't suppose that Corrigan escaped, do you, Gat? We saw the dick die with our own eyes. Pick up the gun, Ricky, and finish the job. Me touch that gun after what happened to him? Nothing doing, boss. Either you shoot the girl or I shoot you. I'll do it since you put it like that. Nope. You threaten to shoot me and then give me what seems to be the only gun in the room? Seriously? In a room full of gangsters, he's got the only gun? I'm going to kill you. I'm sorry. If you convince me that you are a threat to my life, your life must end. It's very simple. The guy's got to suck the pipe. Bye, Gat. Bow. So as Ricky advances, Jim Corrigan appears. And Gat pretty much susses out that, hey, you know what? There's no freaking way he could have survived, so we're looking at Jim's ghost. Ricky doesn't believe he's a ghost, but he can soon make him one by shooting him, so he fires his gun, but the bullets pass right through him. If you have any more bullets to waste, go ahead. Ricky launches himself upon Jim, feeling, I guess, that bullets don't work, therefore he's going to punch him? But as he touches Corrigan's figure, his skin, it's wrinkling, shrinking. No! And we actually see his skin shrinking there. You can see it peeling. That's pretty cool. Ricky undergoes a fantastic transformation. His skin and garments commence to fade away until only a skeleton remains. What have you done to me? Don't leave me this way. You've robbed, you've killed, and this is your reward. Get past the fact that Ricky would have no organs to actually speak, but wow, that's actually pretty cool. Pretty gruesome for a DC comic book in the Golden Age. And after watching this unfold, old Gat says, I'm out of here, cuz. But before Gat can leave, duplicates of Jim's figure materialize at all exits. Huh? Not thinking of leaving, are you? Let me out of here. You're not leaving yet. So Gat pulls a gun on him, but Jim says, "May I remind you that I need but touch you and you suffer the same fate as Ricky did?" And as all of Jim's duplicates are going towards Gat, he says, "Back! Do you hear? Or I'll plug the dame." And as the ghostly figures continue to advance, the figures close in upon the shrieking gangster with a rush. The first time I read this, I didn't notice that he did actually shoot Clarice. That's pretty cool. Like I said, he's the best gangster in all of comic bookdom. Bam! They're dead. Bam! She's dead. That's pretty cool. On the other hand, we get the typical bad writing. I mean, those are two panels that say exactly the same thing. But Jim does reach Gat and touches him. And Gat falls unconscious, he said. Not dead, unconscious. And the duplicates vanish, and Jim goes over to Clarice. So Jim picks up Clarice's dying body. Suddenly, Jim looks down at his hands, amazed. What in... For where he had touched Clarice, no wounds. As soon as I touched it, it healed instantly. She's coming to, but she must not know what has happened to me. Clarice wakes up excited to see Jim. Then it's not true what they said. You're not dead. Oh, I'm so glad. And the couple begin to talk about how Jim Corrigan was able to take down all of the gangsters single-handedly. Jim Corrigan speaking. "Send the wagon to the Westwood warehouse. I've some customers for you." "You took care of these men by yourself?" "Well, they did only have one gun between them." As the cops carry the bad guys out of the room, they realize they just cannot get them to revive. So Jim uses a little magic to revive them, but they are not themselves because of their experiences. They've lost their minds. So as the couple drive away, Jim tells her that he doesn't want to go to the party, and she says, "What? But we're to have our engagement announced there." "That's another thing I'm sorry about. The engagement is off." "But Jim, why?" "Isn't it obvious? I simply have ceased to care." What a dick. "But Jim, we mean so much to each other, you and I. You can't discard our love like an old sock." "Please, Clarice, you're making it difficult for me." Yep. One big old dick. Just to show how extra dickish he is, while they're talking, he realizes there's no moisture on the window. Good Lord, I don't breathe. The startling reminder of his ghostly existence strengthens Jim's resolution. "We're finished, Clarice, and there's nothing we can do about it." "I understand." "Thanks for making it easy on me." Well, Clarice lost a boyfriend, but it looks like she gained the power of flight. And after he's done breaking up with his girlfriend, Clarice, Jim goes home and breaks up with his boyfriend, Wayne, who seems very upset that he decided to go get his own room. "Don't do it, Jim. We've been together so long." Within his new room, Jim busies himself constructing a strange costume. When completed, he dons it. "I'll continue to be Jim Corrigan, detective. But when I battle crime as the Spectre, I'll cloak my identity in this costume. A lone figure, tortured by conflicting thoughts, stares up at a full moon. If only I could forget this grim mission, achieve eternal rest. But when he thinks of the injustices of crime, no, the world needs me. I shall not be satisfied until criminal activities upon this earth are a thing of the past." There you go, gang. The first appearance of the Spectre, as requested by my friends on Patreon. Yep. That it was actually a tie between this Wonder Woman and Blue Beetle, and then I put it on Twitter to see who would win out of that, and this was the one that was picked. I had a lot of fun. This is a good story. It's a good book. Granted, there are some spots where the writing is bad, but overall, this is one of the better of the Golden Age books. Definitely one of the better ones I've done since I've started the First Appearance Fridays. And yeah, guys, what do you think? I loved it. There are certain aspects I didn't know, and it is kind of fun to see that while he's not as powerful as he will become in the DC universe, he's still pretty dang powerful right out of the beginning with healing and a death stare, being able to shrivel people, and some just die. It was done very well. I like this book. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of the first appearance of Spectre? Also, if you have any requests, put them down as well. Don't forget to click like, share, get word out about the channel, and about these videos. Share these videos specifically, because I love doing them, but not one has been a hit yet. I consider a hit 10% of the subscriber base. So by all means, share these videos, get word out about them. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi. There's material there as well that's specific to the supporters. So you do get a bang for your buck. Help out the channel, help us keep the lights on, help us keep making videos for you. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.